We'll be talking about certain innovations in the prevention and management of orthopedic infection. So, all throughout the day, I guess everybody's bombarded with a lot of infection and all types of strategies and everything. So, obviously, it is very complex to identify an orthopedic infection. I won't go into the depth of it because a lot has been discussed throughout the day. It's the complexity of the musculoskeletal system, the tendency of the biofilm formation on implants, the rise of antibiotic resistance. Also, the diagnosis is very complex, as we just heard from Dr. Bijlani. And also, if we are not treating it in the right manner, there are certain complications that we need to face. It could have significant morbidity, and it can reach up to a level where there could be some mortality as well. And the most common management protocol is basically the debridement, or the extensive debridement, as we've been hearing from this morning, the implant removal or revision as it might require, and obviously some necessary treatment which requires antibiotics. What we know is that there could be a list of different infections that are possible, and there is a general tendency amongst orthopedics to understand that it could be a psoriasis, but no. If you look at the spectrum, definitely the global scenario also talks about a huge list of bacteria and all kind of microorganisms that are possible. And even if you look at the Indian scenario, we can see the rise of gram-negative infections happening a lot more. Almost more than 50% of the cases are now reporting not only gram-negative infections, but also the rise of MDR in these gram-negative infections. And as we know, the standard protocol is obviously the debridement, the wash, or the copious wash as it is called, and an IV antibiotic. But the culprit, as we all know, is the biofilm, which will adhere to all your hardwares that has been implanted out there. It could be the plates, it could be the prosthesis or the screws. And even if you're doing as much as debridement and copious wash, it's not going to get completely cured. Thus, what we need is and these particular sites, whatever IV antibiotics you're giving are not reaching in enough concentration, and even if they are reaching, they are not able to penetrate into this biofilm, as we have now learnt very clearly. This is asking, or this is requiring towards the need of local ultra high concentration of antibiotics, which will penetrate into the biofilms and clear this infection. When we talk about the local antibiotic delivery, some classical features that we are looking forward to is achieve a high MIC concentration of the antibiotics that are being given at the local site. It's a much more targeted treatment. It avoids the systemic side effects because it's only being placed in the local site. And it also is shown to work in dysvascular areas, and there are some wonderful results that we have seen, especially in diabetic foot osteomyelitis cases. The graphic that we here look at is when you give a systemic antibiotic, if there is a biofilm on this particular implant, you can see hardly any concentration of the antibiotic reaching over the biofilm and not even being able to penetrate the biofilm. Whereas if you give a local high concentration of antibiotic, most of that antibiotic has now penetrated that biofilm and is doing the job what it is required to do. So thus I bring to you our first and the most preferable product, that is Stimulan. I am sure you must have heard about this since the morning. It's a perfect partner for cases with infected sites. Now Stimulan Rapid Cure, as it is called, does three main jobs. First thing, it can be used for the dead space management. The second is for placing in bone voids and in surrounding soft tissue to clear the infections, and definitely it can be used for local delivery of antibiotics to clear chronic infections and biofilms. The Stimulan, as it is, has salient features which I always like to put across for describing this product. It is synthetic in nature. It's not coming from any natural source. It is a pure calcium sulfate alpha hemihydrate product. It is absolutely safe and biocompatible. It is a truly resorbable material with an optimal resorption rate of 4 to 8 weeks. So once you have put the product in the body, it will optimally resorb in this particular time frame, and eventually you won't be able to see the product. It can be placed in infected and non-infected sites in both bone as well as in soft tissues. You can put any kind of antimicrobial, any kind of antibiotic, any antifungal, whatever you want, in any combinations as per the requirement. It is uniquely engineered through our specialized process of dry 26 recrystallization method, which we'll quickly look into in the next few slides. and it has a US FDA approval as well as. There is lots of evidence that supports the use of stimulant in all types of infections in orthopedic domain. There are more than 600 publications out there supporting the use of stimulant. It is the only calcium sulfate product which is approved for placing in articulating surfaces or joint areas, and it will not require any secondary surgery. It will not lead to any needs for infection, and there are no impurities or no HA in this material. When we look at this particular process, how this product is made, which we call it as dry 26 recrystallization method, we start from pure pharma grade chemicals, unlike many of the other products which start from natural source of calcium, which can lead to a lot of problems once placed in the body. So we have this particular process which takes almost 26 steps. It takes 6 weeks to make one batch of stimulant, and this ensures the highest level of purity that is possible in a product of this category. And what other thing this particular process ensures is the 100% resorption of the material in the body, and that too at an optimal rate. So if you're going to use any kind of other product, the resorption would be either too quick or it would be like not resorbing at all, which is not the requirement. If you're using a product like this, it needs to have an optimal resorption, which can only be guaranteed by undertaking this process and by this product only. Now when we talk about local delivery of antibiotics, what are the concentrations of antibiotic that has been delivered at the local site using this product? It is almost 1000 to 1500 times the MIC level, and as we see in our experiments, this particular level of concentrations is maintained for almost 40 days. This is the real time frame which is required to clear chronic infections and biofilms. And if you're going to put it prophylactically, it is also going to prevent any development of an SSI or an acute infection. Now, when we're talking about this high concentration of antibiotics in the local site, we're always worried what's happening systemically. So there is this study which proves that they have done 50 arthroplasty cases, and they have tried to determine the antibiotic concentration in the local element, which is obviously very high because that's where the entire antibiotic concentration is. But at the same time, they have withdrawn the peripheral blood and determined the serum concentrations for the first 5 days, which have been in the ranges of either at the MIC levels or much below that, or almost like non-quantifiable concentrations over the period of time, like almost by day 3, day 4, there's almost non-quantifiable concentrations. So the the ultimate conclusion of this paper is that high local concentration post-implantation do not manifest into high systemic antibiotic concentration. So this is a safe area now. And we also guarantee our product, it's been manufactured in a world-class facility. We have all the required regulatory clearances, the most difficult ones, the CE mark, the US FDA, the Health Canada, CDS, COTG, Australia. Beyond that, the product is almost registered and being used in more than 100 countries. And we're happy to say almost 150,000 cases are being done annually. There's a lot of evidence out there in support of stimulant, and it is not that we have generated, it is end users like all the orthopedic surgeons and many other surgeons who have used stimulant and gathered this information and put it in public domain. These papers are like in all types of varieties, you name it, it's a prospective study, retrospective study, a blind randomized trial, or whatever, any kind of pathogen you are seeking information for, any kind of antibiotic you're looking, you will get all the varieties of papers that you want. Just some of the examples that have been published from India itself in last 1.5 years. So as I mentioned, it is one of the only calcium sulfate products used for can be used in articulating surfaces. It's purely because of the process that we undertake to make this particular product. Does not have any impurities because it is not coming from natural sources. So it does not lead to any abrasions to your native joints, implants, spacers, nothing. So you can place it with any of these. The next I bring to you is the bullet mat and introducer. I'm sure you must have heard about this in the morning sessions if you were there. This is particularly for the intramedullary canal infections. These are the difficult ones, the places where it's difficult to reach your antibiotics. So with this particular product, you can fill in the entire intramedullary canal where the antibiotic would be released, and obviously it will lead to high concentrations of antibiotic in the canal. So as you can see in the picture, it can be placed in the canal entirely, and the entire canal will be kind of filled with these bullets which will be releasing the antibiotic. Also this particular bullet has been specifically designed with this kind of a groove or a cavity, which is very important, which will kind of extravase any kind of fluid which is remaining at the distal end, so that there should not be any remnant fluid out there. Many surgeons in the past have been using beads itself and kind of pressure fixing it, which is not the ideal thing to do, and that's why we have come up with this particular product. We're happy to say that we have been receiving a lot of awards. Recently we've been awarded the most innovative product, and in the past also we've got the Excellence of Innovation Award in the UK. That's the most prestigious award there, the Queen's Award. This is just a basic list, but whenever you're going to use stimulant, you will get an extended list or an extended chart of different antibiotics that you can mix it with. Our representatives will help you. You can mix it with any kind of antibiotic or antifungal and in various combinations. So we're going to have a demo session. I don't know how many people are going to be there, but we'll still have one, and we'll look how to make these beads and bullets today. So if you have to just look into what are the contents of this particular product, you will have the stimulant powder in the bottle and a mixing solution. This will only be used if you're going to use powdered antibiotics. If you're going to use a liquid antibiotic, this will not be used. You have a spatula to kind of mix the two things. An applicator and a bead mat, which has 3 different sizes of beads you can prepare, that is 3 mm, 4.8 mm and 6 mm. So you basically empty the contents of the stimulant powder and your powdered antibiotic if you're going to take, and put the liquid mixing solution and just mix it together to make it come together as a dough. Take the applicator and kind of start placing it on the bead mat. Intermittently we tap the bead mat so that there is no entrapment of the air bubbles. Then once the setting has done for a dedicated time that is required for different antibiotics, there is different setting time. So after it has dried for that amount of time, the first thing that you will notice is the loss of gloss. That is, initially when you place the paste, it will be glossy, it will be shiny. Over a period of time it will dry out, and then eventually once it is dried, you almost see the beads are coming out of that mat. You take 1 or 2 beads and kind of try to press it between your thumb and index finger with all your strength. If it is not breaking, that's the compressive strength the bead needs to have, and that means that it's ready to use. If it is breaking, it requires further drying. So where to use stimulant? So I'm not going to go into detail of all different types of cases or something. I'm just going to briefly put out, because there's a lot of literature out there. So for management of infections, you can use it in all types of variety of cases of FRI and trauma, in all types of your PGI, especially the first stage, or you can also use it for DAPRI or dire processes. If you're into DFO, this is working wonderfully out here. It is saving a lot of limbs and salvaging a lot of limbs out there. It's doing a good work for patients that are suffering from this. So it's actually a perfect partner for your infection management. And if you're going to use this product for prophylaxis or prophylactically for prevention of infections, which is also being done in a lot many cases, as there is a lot of literature talking about that. So obviously in second stage or whenever you're placing your implants, you can, just to be secured enough, you can place it. Even in spine surgeries, it is being now used as a lot of prevention strategy as compared to the vancomycin dumping out there. And obviously we have seen the use of bullets in the intermedullary canal, where also we tend to have a lot of infections and we need to prevent those infections out there. The next range of products that I'm going to talk about is the ready-to-use antibiotic spacers, mainly used in the first stage PJI. Now these are ready to use, and these are like precision engineered, and they're manufactured in the industry, designed with a lot of consistency and structural uniformity. They're designed for dynamic movement and stability. This is the highlight of this product. Patients who have been placed with these spacers are comfortably moving and able to do their regular activities. Although we do not advocate that patients should continue on this, they should come again for their second stage, but it is providing them a good quality of life. It is preloaded with gentamicin to aid treatment of infection, and there is case by case flexibility because it comes in various sizes, and obviously it is time saving. It just takes 1 minute, open the pack and use it. As against the intraoperatively prepared spacers, where definitely it's going to take a lot of time and expertise which is required to make it. It is also kind of highly inconsistent with the design and the mechanical endurance of this. It's going to be made with the hands, and there is a lot of the antibiotic availability is not uniform because there is no uniform mixing. There is irregular porosity, roughness, which can lead to loss of the natural bone wherever you are placing it. If we talk about the hip spacers that we have, it is reinforced with stainless steel, that is a 316L stainless steel, and thus it is MRI compatible. It is made up of completely of PMMA, and the peripheral 1 mm is loaded with the antibiotic. So you can be rest assured that the entire antibiotic elution will be from the entire spacer, and there will be uniform elution, unlike the one that you have in the intraoperative prepared spacers. It comes in various sizes and styles, that is Charlie and Mueller styles, and we also have, we now have the long stem hip spacers available. The perfectly spherical and polished finish of this femoral head is very valuable because it prevents the bone stock wear. So if you look into it and if you hold it, you will appreciate the finishing that it has and the weight it has, because it can help in the stability and mobility that it provides to the patients. Also, the high local concentration of gentamicin at the local site is helpful, but at the same time it is maintaining a low systemic level. The knee spacers again comes in two parts, the femoral component and the tibial component. The tibial component has a tibial stem which allows it to fix, and it also has a tibial post again which aligns the femoral component, again to provide better stability and mobility. Again, this is also made up of completely of PMMA, and the peripheral 1 mm is of gentamicin loaded PMMA. So again you have a uniform elution. Now this spacer is really important because it maintains the articular space, the limb length and the ligament structure, which is the ultimate requirement before you reach up to the second stage in PJI treatment. The elution profile again here also is similar to that of what we have seen in case of stimulant. You will have the elution profile of the gentamicin drug out there for almost 30 days. This is again very critically valuable because it helps in the clearing of the infection. It comes in different sizes, so once you're here, you can look into the different sizes that are available. Most importantly, if I have to highlight something for the hip spacer, it's the neck angle, which is 137 degrees, which provides the required mobility to the patient, and that's the most critical factor of these particular spacers. Similarly, the knee spacers, they are available in 3 different sizes here in India, and the size is basically on the mediolateral sizing of the femoral or the tibial component. That's it. So there are some other products which are mainly towards bone grafting and not towards infection, so I won't be talking about that. We'll quickly go on to a demo and demonstration for the product. Yes.
So this submission, this has gentamicin already added, right? Can we add another antibiotic of choice if you want a gram-positive cover, or if
To this spacer you can't. You can additionally use stimulant with that.
Okay.
Yeah, that will give you the cover if you want.